Hey everyone, how's it going? For today's video, let's take an up-close and personal, in-depth look at the 2015 Porsche 911 Turbo S. So this is going to be a detailed, in-depth review of the Turbo S. We'll start it up, show the engine, get an exhaust clip, and go over the performance data, as well as show you a bunch of the unique aspects of both the interior as well as exterior. And before we begin, I'd like to take a moment to extend a big thanks and special shout out to Porsche of Greensboro, located in Greensboro, North Carolina, adjacent to Foreign Cars Italia, for allowing me to come out and providing the all-new 911 Turbo S featured in today's in-depth review. And so, without further ado, let's go ahead and start her up, let her run. This Turbo S is finished in a deep, gloss black exterior, contrasted nicely by platinum gray leather interior with perforated seating surfaces, not to mention contrasting black across the doors, dash, and center console. And to start, just like in traditional Porsche fashion, off to the left-hand side is your ignition cylinder. Just put your foot on the brake and twist this little integrated key mechanism to start. One of the first things you notice about the Turbo S when you start it up and start playing with some of the various sports settings is the fact that it comes standard with a dual mode exhaust system. When in the closed or standard setting, they automatically open up at a certain RPM, and when it's idling, it's relatively quiet, for a Turbo S. But once you press the button, either Sport or Sport Plus, you can automatically hear the bypass valves open for a much more pronounced sound. We'll talk about it more in detail later in the video, as well as go over some more detailed sound clips, but here's a quick comparison shot between the standard mode and sport mode. So first, in standard mode, then switch to Sport or Sport Plus. The 991 Turbo and Turbo S feature an electro-hydraulic speed proportional rack and pinion power steering system with varying ratios between 12.25 and 15.02. With the new four-wheel steering system, which we'll cover a little bit more later in the video, the turning circle is also reduced to just 34.8 cubic feet, compared to a Carrera 4 that's 1.6 feet shorter. The steering wheel is of simple design with heavy grips up top and supple leather. Previously on the 997, a 6-speed manual was only available in the entry turbo. With the all-new 991, Porsche is offering its excellent PDK 7-speed dual-clutch automated manual gearbox as the only transmission for both the Turbo and Turbo S, routed through a polished aluminum and leather gear selector. If desired, you can shift it manually via the selector below or by the steering wheel mounted aluminum paddle shifters. For improved economy, the PDK was designed with virtual gearing that allows both clutches to slip into gear ratios between the fixed set, yielding the lowest revs possible while cruising. The auto start-stop feature activates below 4 miles an hour when coming to a stop, saving a bit of fuel before taking off once more. And a standard coasting feature allows the transmission to decouple from the engine when you take your foot off the gas, allowing it to coast without engine braking. Launch control is a standard feature for the Turbo S, as is the Porsche Active Suspension Management System, feeding into the standard sport mode that hastens the already quick gear changes, firms up the dampers, increases throttle response, firms up the steering, and opens up the dual mode exhaust. And so, we're going to flip on the automatic bi-xenon LED accent and projector headlamps, rear fog lamps, and the hazards. Of course, both windows are fully automatic. And we'll go ahead and check out the exterior, shall we? 2014 marks a big year for Porsche's performance benchmark. Not only has it been 5 decades since the 911 first hit the streets, but it's also the 40th anniversary of the 911 Turbo. With that, Porsche introduces the next generation 911 Turbo and Turbo S for the 2014 model year. Continuing through 2015, it's built on the 911's all-new 991 platform that first made its appearance for 2013 and replaced the 997. Even though the all-new 991 911 debuted for 2013, the 997 Turbo and Turbo S still remain in production alongside the new car through the end of the model year. As far as a quick background, the original Turbo was based on the 911 Type 930. It was developed in correspondence to Group 4 motorsport regulations that, in order to race, required entrants to be based on regular production models. Therefore, they would also need to be made available to the public in some form. The 400 original Turbo Carreras quickly gained a reputation for extreme performance, solidifying it as a sports icon. They were demanding to drive and well known for their understeer tendencies and pronounced turbo lag, requiring a driver to have a higher skill set in order to properly handle the car. Now, with the all-new 8th generation 911 Turbo and Turbo S, Porsche once again raises the bar even further, solidifying it as the sports car benchmark and a technology innovator, with performance that positions itself well within the supercar territory. The Turbo S starts at a supercar-worthy price of $182,700, with the Turbo beginning at $151,100. It boasts mind-boggling acceleration and speed that can be only compared to a handful of hypercars, including the Bugatti Veyron. Now, riding on a new platform with a redesigned all-wheel drive system and 4-wheel steering setup, the 991 Turbo is more capable and more agile than ever to balance the impressive gain in power. With enough luxury and comfort amenities that rival the best Grand Tourers, the Turbo is also a supercar that you could daily drive without inhibitions. While I will refer to the Turbo and Turbo S interchangeably, making sure to point out the key differences between them, the biggest standalone fact is that all of the extra performance goodies that are optional for the Turbo are standard equipment on the Turbo S. As you would expect, both the Turbo and Turbo S yield more power from their 3.8-liter flat sixes and twin variable geometry turbochargers. For the standard Turbo, an increase in 20 horsepower and 7 pound-feet of torque yield a total of 520 horsepower and 487 pound-feet of torque. The Turbo S gains 30 horsepower to a total of 560 while keeping the same torque figure as last year. An available overboost feature, part of the Sport Chrono Pack, which is optional on the Turbo and standard on the Turbo S, yields a brief 20-second 2.2 psi increase in boost pressure for a maximum of 19.6 psi. In the process, it alters the Turbo's geometry to yield an additional 37 pound-feet of torque for both the Turbo and Turbo S, with peak torque figures of 524 and 553 pound-feet respectively. This extra grunt is available between 2100 and 4250 RPM for the Turbo and between 2200 and 4000 RPM for the Turbo S. The 991 structure consists of a combination of aluminum, steel, and composite, which makes it stiffer and 13% lighter than the 997. While the body is primarily steel, aluminum and magnesium were used in key areas such as the roof, underbody, doors, engine compartment, and the luggage compartment lids. Magnesium was also used for the center console support beam. With all that power, there's a host of new suspension and drivetrain enhancements, including an all-new version of Porsche's traction management all-wheel drive system. Its heart consists of an electronically controlled Haldex multi-plate clutch pack that distributes the power between the front and rear axles. An electronic locking differential is standard. Thanks to a new water cooling feature, it's able to send more power to the front than the 997 Turbo. Another important new feature is a rear-wheel steering system to enhance turn-in and overall high-speed precision. I'm sure most people remember a handful of sports cars from the 1990s that also featured a similar concept, such as the Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4 and Nissan 300ZX Twin Turbo. Like those systems, the 911 Turbo's rear wheels can pivot both ways depending on your speed via actuators that take the place of suspension toe links. Below 31 miles an hour, the wheels steer counterphase to the front wheels or in the opposite direction, varying as much as 2.8 degrees, which virtually shortens the car's wheelbase by 9.8 inches, making it feel smaller and more agile in low-speed cornering. In other words, it allows the car to turn into corners faster with more dynamic steering. It also enhances parking and maneuverability in tight areas, in addition to improving the turning radius. When the car is traveling above 49 miles an hour, the rear wheels will steer in the same direction as the front, varying up to 1.5 degrees, which virtually lengthens the wheelbase by 19.6 inches. This effect leads to greater directional control during high-speed maneuvers. Between those speed limits, the system's actions vary depending on the situation. Further enhancing turn-in is Porsche's Torque Vectoring Plus system, which applies the inside rear brake to help the car rotate through a curve quicker, while simultaneously sending more power to the outer rear wheel. Standard on the Turbo S is the Dynamic Chassis Control System, which constantly works to maintain a flat composure through the corners. The anti-roll effect reacts faster when placed into the Sport Plus mode. The dynamic or active roll bars also allow the car to have better composure on rougher roads, while still remaining a comfortably stiff ride. Currently, there are 16 different models of the 911. To properly differentiate the Turbo from your standard Carrera, they wear an aggressively styled body that's designed for maximum downforce, as well as feeding air to the intercoolers, engine, and brakes. With the Turbo's flared rear fenders, the car is 1.5 inches wider than a base Carrera, or 1.1 inches wider than a Carrera 4. So wide, in fact, that you can actually lay your entire hand flat between the pillar and the outer edge. The front intakes are wider, while the rear fenders carry a large intake just ahead of the rear wheels and in the trailing edges of the rear fascia to either side of the signature black quad pipes. Even with all the extra tech and performance goodies, the car is just 49 pounds heavier than a 997 Turbo. One significant new feature in high-speed stability are the active aero components. These consist of an adjustable 3-stage front chin spoiler and deployable rear deck lid spoiler. In the standard start setting, both spoilers are retracted and or hidden from view. This also protects the chin spoiler from driveway and curb damage, which, extended fully, actually sits lower than the front of the GT3, which comes with a front-end lift system to help clear objects. Above 74 miles an hour, the speed setting partially extends both spoilers. The spoilers can be fully extended by the button in the center console or in the Sport Plus mode. When extended, the front spoiler proudly displays the Turbo S script. The net goal is increased downforce, an important thing to have when reaching the velocities the Turbo is capable of. Fully extended, they generate up to 309 pounds of downforce at 186 miles an hour. The 911 Turbo S comes with a signature set of new, asymmetric forged aluminum wheels, measuring 20 by 9 inches in front and 20 by 11.5 inches in the rear, featuring black painted pockets and a polished face. They're wrapped in high-performance summer tires measuring 245/35 in front and 305/35 in the rear, able to hold just over 1 G of cornering forces. Highlights include the anodized black central locking hubs. Derived from racing, they're designed to reduce rotating mass for more agile driving, a setup also used on the 918 Spider and in Porsche Motorsports. The standard Turbo also features asymmetric 20-inch wheels, but are styled slightly differently and have reduced width compared to the Turbo S wheels. They also retain a more conventional 5-lug design, but if desired, you can also order the Turbo S wheels to be fitted to the standard car. An option for the Turbo and standard on the Turbo S is Porsche's carbon ceramic braking system. With diameters of 16.1 inches in front and 15.4 inches in the rear, the two-piece, cross-drilled, internally ventilated discs are huge and definitely larger than the standard offerings. Clamped down by fixed aluminum, yellow monoblock calipers, 6 piston units in front and 4 piston units out back. They're able to bring the car to a stop from 60 miles an hour in just 98 feet with superior durability and fade resistance. As far as the independent suspension, McPherson struts make up the front while the rear employs a 5-link design, with coilover shocks at each corner paired with Porsche's active suspension management system that offers 2 driver-selectable modes to alter the adaptive dampers. Overall length is 177.4 inches with a width of 74 inches and a height of 51 inches, running on a 96.5-inch wheelbase. Total curb weight, as you see here, is around 3,538 pounds, with around 60% of the vehicle's weight riding over the rear axle. So we're going to pop the engine cover. As the name suggests, the Turbo S represents the pinnacle of 911 power. It features twin variable geometry turbochargers and direct injection to feed an all-aluminum and intercooled 3.8-liter rear-mounted flat 6. With dual overhead cams, 4 valves per cylinder, and VarioCam Plus, the engine produces a compression ratio of 9.8 to 1 and a red line of 7,200 RPM, which is 200 RPM higher than before. Other internal changes include forged connecting rods, shorter skirt aluminum pistons, and more, not to mention dry sump lubrication. Max horsepower is 560 at 6,500 RPM and 516 pound-feet of torque at 2,100 RPM on 17.4 psi of boost. The base turbo makes do with 14.5 psi. This translates to a factory-rated 0 to 60 time of a blistering 2.9 seconds for the Turbo S, with real-world testing yielding numbers closer to 2.6. An overboost feature while in sport mode allows for the brief boosts in power like we talked about earlier, up to 553 pound-feet of torque. It can achieve the quarter mile in 10.8 seconds at 126 miles an hour with a top speed of 198 miles an hour. Porsche also improved the fuel economy thanks to the standard auto start-stop feature and transmission programming. With a 16.9-gallon tank and required premium gas, EPA estimates range between 17 miles to a gallon in the city and 24 on the highway. The interior of the Turbo S is highly customizable like it is with the rest of the 911 lineup, and boasts world-class quality both in build and features offered. In general, the surfaces are wrapped in soft leather with double accent stitching, carbon fiber trim across the dash, doors, and center console, with satin aluminum and polished brightwork found throughout. In addition to all of the standard safety features, you can also opt for an adaptive cruise system with collision warning. If desired, the Turbo S can also be had in an exclusive two-tone combination of Carrera red and black leather. Your power windows, power mirrors, and two-person memory are all located on the door, with plenty of storage located down below. Another standard feature for the Turbo S aiding in overall comfort are the Adaptive Sport Seats Plus with 18-way electric adjustment. The seats are of multi-contour design and feature a myriad of adjustments from extra thigh support to lateral support up top and down below and 4-way power lumbar adjustment. The seats in the middle in this particular car are completely perforated and help aid in both the heating and ventilated functions. The headrests are fixed and tilted slightly forward to help cradle the driver's head a little bit better. The upper backrest is flared out to help support your shoulders. Continuing on through the vehicle, down below you have polished aluminum Turbo S door entry guards right alongside the boot and engine cover release, logoed embroidered floor mats, aluminum accented pedals, and a full power tilt telescoping heated steering wheel, standard driver and passenger side knee airbags, and a leather wrapped dash with double stitched color accent stitching, not to mention the plenty of carbon fiber. Alcantara graces the headliner with a sunroof up top.
So let's go ahead and see if she sounds. So again in standard mode first. And Sport Plus. and shut her up.
This 911 features the standard 445 watt Bose surround sound system, but for added punch, a 12 speaker 821 watt high-end surround sound system from Burmeister is also available with dynamic 3-dimensional sound. It's all routed through the Porsche Communication Management Infotainment System with 7-inch LCD touchscreen display. The Alcantara headliner flows down to the A-pillars. Padded visors with a card holder off to the far right and LED illuminated vanity mirrors. Your rear view mirror is auto-dimming, while on the top stack you have your LED reading lamps, turning off your parking sensors and 3-position garage home link. As far as the infotainment system, Porsche's done a pretty good job with making it pretty easy to use overall. Now, there's a whole lot of features and functionality packed into it. It may take a little while for you to play with and get used to it, but it's pretty intuitive overall, I think. It's a touchscreen based system, but does have shortcut keys down below here for things like navigation, media, and telephone. So let's go ahead and get started. On the far right here you have your map button, which we're currently on at the moment. You have real-time traffic updates. You can zoom, play with it a little bit more, and customize the layout. And if you hit the option button in the bottom right-hand corner here, that's where you can control the different options, route options, and more. Back button. If you hit navigation, that brings up your destination input, and you can of course use the touch functions, but the tune wheel on the right also doubles as a little wheel. The option button up top there can be hit via the touch function or the shortcut key down below here. Now most of the functions are going to have that option submenu so you can customize the various settings and the like. System information including real-time traffic updates, car, for personal trip data, a compass, your hands-free Bluetooth telephone in the middle here with your off and on hook buttons. It'll automatically ask you to pair one if you don't have one already connected, but you can store numbers, voice dial. The media screen, which we're currently utilizing right now, is your auxiliary, iPod, USB integration, jukebox, which is the vehicle's hard drive. You can load up MP3 files and store them on that. Your tuner brings up your FM, AM, satellite radio, and HD radio. Preset stations are located in the middle here, all the artist and song information, manual tune listing the available stations in your area, and other options. You can change the source down below there, seek tune, and your audio adjustments, including surround sound. Beneath the audio system is your standard electronic automatic climate control setup, with fan speed in the middle here, different zones, temperature for either side, front and rear defrost, as well as 3-stage heated and ventilated seating for both sides. Continuing on back, the padded and carbon fiber laced center console, you have a small little storage tray towards the back. You have various sport modes, traction control, damper settings, your auto start stop feature, and raising and lowering the rear spoiler. The middle controls here control the sunroof either to open it or just access the vent feature. There's no glass portion, it's just the roof that slides back. And all the way in the back you have a leather padded center console with a modest amount of space and a 12-volt power outlet. Located on either side of the steering wheel is your off and on hook buttons for your telephone, radio volume. This button right here brings up these little status gauges in the far right, and the driver info system, which shows up in that little pod right there, which we'll talk about now. As far as the driver info system, you have your navigation, telephone, audio, vehicle settings including turbo boost, temperatures, as well as oil pressure, performance for instantaneous torque, lateral G's, the Sport Chrono system, torque split, tire pressure monitoring system, and trip computer. The Turbo S also features Porsche's Sport Chrono system with a clock located in the dash that also doubles as a stopwatch. So typically it always acts as a clock, and then when you start it, it starts counting the timer. You can stop it, continue, and reset. Once you get out of the screen, then it goes back to your clock. Using the wheel for the driver info system, once you're in the chrono screen, you can press down, start it,
round to the next time, change it for like laps and whatnot, and reset it.
Automatic rain sensing windshield wipers, as well as your headlamp washers, and your high beams, parking lights, and turn signals.
Down below here is your cruise control. I'm also such a big fan of Porsche's gauge layout, with a big tachometer in the middle, digitalized speedometer readout, whereas you do have an analog tachometer to the left, oil temperature, oil pressure, and off to the far right, your water temperature and vehicle fuel. Alrighty. We'll go and shut her down. And check out the back seat real quick. In order to gain access to the back seat, all you have to do is just pull up on this little lever here and flip it forward. And like any 911, the back seat space is a little tight, but offers a nice amount of storage capabilities. You have people sitting back here. There's actually a little bit of soft Alcantara down below there to make a nice soft surface for you to rest your legs. Definitely the biggest benefit is the ability to fold the top of the seat backs down for extra storage space. There's even some black pieces right there to prevent the cargo from flying into the front under harder braking. So let's go ahead and check out the rest of the vehicle, shall we?
You can open up the boot lid two different ways, either the remote fob or by the switch located on the driver's side entry threshold like I showed you earlier. Once you get inside, there's around 4.8 cubic feet of space, which is modest, enough to fit a couple pieces of medium-sized luggage. There's also some illumination, it's lined in carpet, and some access to your fluid reservoirs, not to mention the Porsche script towards the cowl.
You also have the same power adjustments in the passenger seat that you find on the driver's. There's even two hidden cup holders behind this little faceplate here. Locking glove box down below with a pretty good amount of space. Your iPod, auxiliary, USB integration, and an extra power outlet, not to mention illumination.
The 911 has represented the benchmark of sports car performance for 5 decades now. With the Turbo S, Porsche is quite a formidable competitor in the supercar segment, with blistering performance, a sumptuous interior, and the advantage of everyday usability.
Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed the in-depth look at the 2015 Porsche 911 Turbo S. Be sure to stay tuned next time, there's a lot more where that came from. Take care everybody.